But now we'll go to the back, and I think this is the big part that kind of threw people off when we started posting about it. What's going on, everyone? Alex Stivalletti here from Detroit Speed, and today we're going to talk about Scott's 1967 C10 project that we've been working on here at the shop. And this isn't a complete build. Scott actually owns a shop up in Pennsylvania, so what we are doing is just getting it ready for pretty much paint and body. We've done most of the fab work to it, and so I have Matt Butts here, Project Fabricator. He's going to join me, and we're going to go bumper to bumper and just talk about the entire build. So I'll flip the camera around and we'll get talking about it. So there it is. What are the big key points on this one, Matt?
The chassis is the big point. That's pretty much what we were enlisted to do. It's got some pretty interesting stuff going on it. Up front, it's got our prototype C10 Front Suspension. See there, bolt-in cross member, converts it to a rack. You get the short long arm set up with coilovers. Currently we have a billet spindle that will be a forging in production. Gets a nice hub pack in it. Right now we have a bare big brake kit on it, and that upright is actually geared towards OEM late model Silverado brakes.
Okay. So is it, I guess it's pretty much just set up in the new Silverado bolt pattern?
No, so basically we stuck with C10 as far as bolt pattern, 5-lug, but the brake application is early 2000s Silverado. So if you wanted to do just like an OEM style Silverado caliper and rotor, that's the package that this would run. And then,
okay.
You know, Bear has the obviously the big brake offerings, so that's a 15-inch rotor with a 6-piston caliper.
Plenty of stopping force for that. See, it's cool that this is kind of like our test bed for the front suspension kit, and especially cool that it's pretty much completely bolt-on. Is that right?
Yeah, it is. Yep. Yeah. So just basically how you would unbolt the factory cross member, you bolt ours in, modify the frame rail just a little bit to clear the steering shaft there, but it's just a really small notch you end up with. But other than that, yeah, bolt on in your garage in a weekend type deal.
I think a really cool part of this as well is that if you decide that you want to go to the autocross or track your C10, you can go ahead and just easily drop the spring out from the bottom without having to disconnect your control arms or anything, because there's plenty of room down there. Yes. So I think that's another really cool feature.
Yeah, trucks have the benefit of a big engine base, so definitely easier to work on than some other stuff.
Definitely.
And then of course this is a crate LS7. We converted it to wet sump. It's got our headers on it, full 3-inch stainless exhaust. Those are straight up Chevy 2 LS, but it looks like we will use them for the C10 application as well, because they really fit awesome on this. And of course those are built by Profab just down the road. And then the rest of the engine's trimmed out in all Holley stuff, Holley valve covers, the Holley mid-mount front drive, and the black finish. So that stuff's all super tidy.
And even this engine package, it's just a crate LS7, so it's what, 505 horsepower? I think that's what they advertise it as.
Yeah, just over 500, and then of course you get the headers and a little bit better exhaust on it.
Now what about transmission?
Let's
go around there and talk about that.
So we did the Bowler T56, I believe it's the stage 2. You pretty much exclusively use the Bowler transmissions here, especially when it comes to 6 speeds. They build them strong, and they really stay together nice.
Yeah, I think pretty much every single test car that has a 6-speed in it is a Bowler 6-speed.
Yeah, for sure.
We abuse those. So
Kyle Tucker abuses those.
So that's a nice little serviceable cover on it too.
Yep, and that's actually a factory style transmission tunnel hump, I guess you would call it, out of like the mid 70s, early 70s K5 Blazers and things. So it's really nice, you know, as far as putting a 6-speed in one of these trucks. Basically, we just cut out the factory tunnel and then added weld nuts to the bottom of the floor, and that automatically gets you your clearance for a 6-speed, which most cars are not that simple. You know, you do a first-gen Camaro or something, and it takes a lot more fab work than that right there. So
yeah, exactly.
It's really nice to be able to do that.
That's perfect. So for all you C10 guys out there that are looking for a 6-speed K5 Blazer tunnel and some weld nuts, what do you have for this pedal setup going on here?
So pretty much a stock pedal assembly as far as brake and clutch. That's the GM drive-by-wire pedal. We designed a bracket in-house, and it'll probably actually be a production piece at some point for anybody looking to do LS swaps in these trucks. And that'll just, this whole thing's going to run the factory GM ECM. So all that is a GM drive-by-wire pedal. And then of course it's got the I Did It steering column, which is pretty much standard in most everything we do.
Right.
We just did it in a raw finish, not knowing what all they were going to do paint-wise on the interior. So
yeah, exactly. And like I mentioned, I mean, we're just getting it to a good state for them to do paint and body. So yeah, no interior in this truck. It's just pretty much a roller setup, but you know, of course, engine and trans already installed. So, but now we'll go to the back, and I think this is the big part that kind of threw people off when we started posting about it. So why don't you tell us a little bit about this setup?
So this right here is honestly probably the coolest part of the truck. Scott decided he wanted to do the independent rear suspension, so we basically back have the truck with a C3 frame section, and then it's got our full C3 DECAlink suspension setup in it. Really awesome dual 3-inch stainless exhaust. It flattens out to ovals under the diff there.
Yeah, just for a little extra ground clearance and
Yes.
suspension clearance as well.
Super tidy looking setup.
Yeah, and all the fabrication back here was done by one of our fab guys, Andy Stapp, and he spent years in NASCAR, and you know, pretty much everyone that drives a sprint car knows who Andy Stapp is. So, but he did a fantastic job, you know, graphing this all together, because pretty much from here on is Corvette.
Yep.
And it's crazy. I know at first when he started cutting everything up and laying it all out, I stepped back and look at it, and I'm like, this is just off the wall, something crazy, something new. But I mean, the execution was
he did a super tidy job. And then also the whole frame is boxed front to rear as well, just to add a little bit of extra stiffness to it. So you can see all through here, this is the transition that was built, and it's all been plated and then enclosed. And then basically from here starts the stock C3 clip, and then our full suspension install was basically just like the instructions into a C3 clip, but it's in a C10 instead of a C3.
Yeah, and there's no body, so definitely makes it easier when you're just installing it out in the open. But
yep. And we were also able to keep the bed floor at the stock height, and basically all that will happen is the wheel tubs will get built, you know, with probably 3 or 4 inches of added width to them to hide the frame rail. But other than that, it'll be a stock height floor with a pretty low ride height. That's the nice thing about doing the IRS. You're not dealing with the whole axle traveling up and down. So
right,
just judging by the bed floor, it'll look relatively stock other than the wide wheel tubs.
That is awesome. It's got a Rick's tank in it as well.
Yep, super nice Rick's tank. We did stainless hard lines for fuel and brake. Again, with the Holley stuff as far as the fuel pressure regulator, fuel filter, and then they will finish plumbing the truck in soft lines when they get it up to their shop and do final assembly.
So how big are these tires back here?
These are a 315 3520. It's a Michelin Pilot Super Sport. It's what we use a lot of.
And a 315, I mean, that's plenty of tire.
Well, and the nice thing is too is it's being a 35 series, it's got a little bit more sidewall, so it looks a little bit more appropriate to a truck. And you don't really want to get the real thin rubber band tires going on these. So.
Right. Yeah, that definitely seems to be the popular tire here in the project shop, especially going, you know, doing builds with 19s, 20s. So
yeah, a lot of the 19s we definitely use the Michelins. especially if guys don't plan on doing a lot of track use. You know, we still do use a lot of the rivals, but a lot of the customer cars, you know, the Michelin's a good all-around tire, so we like using those.
Yeah. And these mufflers, these are, I know we've been doing the webinars and everyone keeps asking about them, but yeah, Hooker VR304, I mean, that's pretty much been the muffler of choice for every build in the last, I'd say, like year and a half, 2 years or so.
Yep.
And I know Andy, a little bit of ingenuity mounting everything up, and he's got sway bar end links to mount it up there. And I think the coolest thing that I saw Andy do here when it comes to the exhaust mounting, so this little rubber isolator on the rear mount for the exhaust tips, that's what? A truck mud flat?
Is it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, we use, you know, a lot of different stuff as far as finding the rubber stock at different thicknesses.
Yeah, I'm 99% sure. He came upstairs one day and was talking to Strubeck and said, "Hey, I need a mud flat," and that's where it went. But you can see the ground clearance here. I mean, there's still plenty. Let's see if I can move the camera down. So just adding the little oval cuts and flattening out the exhaust pipes to run under the DECAlink, I mean, there's still plenty of ground clearance. All in all though, this is very different when it comes to a truck build, and I'm excited to see them get it wrapped up and see what they do with it. Because I mean, 500 horsepower, no weight over the rear axles.
I don't do burnouts.
IRS, oh yeah, burnouts, donuts, drifting, a little bit of everything. I think it'll be a very cool truck, and I'm excited to see him wrap it up.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So yeah, that's it. That's Scott's 1967 C10. Pretty much this is it. This is everything we've done to it, all the heavy fab work, and they're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. So hopefully in the next couple weeks we'll have another video for you guys updating on different projects we have going on here. I know you saw earlier we got the Elephant engine for Chris's Daytona project, so those guys are going to be starting some fab work on that soon. And then we have 2 more cars that just showed up, and I'd say in the next, what, month?
Yeah, we'll be getting 2 builds within the month. So
yeah, so in the next month or so we'll have 2 more cars coming in for you, 2 exciting builds. Something a little different from the norm that we do here. You know, you guys see trucks, a lot of trucks now and 69 Camaros, but these 2 will be a little different. So definitely stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, and we'll have more for you. So thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you, Matt, for showing me the truck.
No problem.